The first half against the Eagles is over. I'm currently waiting for the second half to start, but while I'm doing that, I wanted to go ahead and get my thoughts on the video while they're fresh. Okay, the first half, just the starters on offense played the entire first half. Evan Hull played a large portion of that. Deion Jackson started the game, but we saw a lot of Evan Hull. Josh Downs played with the starters, even though he didn't get the ball. And we even saw Drew Ogletree get in the game and get a catch. So we see this youth movement on the offense, a lot of these young guys playing, right? But what's the important thing, right? How did Anthony Richardson do? How did the offense look? If you look at the numbers, Anthony Richardson's completion percentage well below 50% in this one. And it wasn't all pretty. Like, I can't sit here and lie to you and say that it was a bunch of great throws, just, and make excuses for him. Like, there was throws over the middle that were too high. That's something he's going to continue to have to work on, is his throws being too high, right? He's got to figure out how to put more touch on the ball. He's going to always have that laser rocket on. Like, he just is. That's what he is. But if he needs to figure out how to get those balls to drop a little bit. That's just part of the territory of being a quarterback, is figuring out how to be better with it. So he's going to have to figure that out. But overall, the numbers could have been better if his receivers weren't dropping balls. Right, we have receivers not getting open, not creating enough separation. He's trying to put the ball into tight spaces, and he's getting the ball into tight spaces, but the defenders are too close and they're knocking the ball away, or he's putting the ball in perfect spaces and the receivers are just dropping the ball. Right, Alec Pierce had one hit his hands, he dropped it. I mean, the defender was also playing right up on him, but even still, you want to see him be able to catch that ball. It was just a simple comeback route. Should have been boom, boom in his hands and gotten the first down right there. And there was also a throw to Josh Downs. That was a beautiful throw. I mean, the Eagles sent two blitzers, and the blitz got picked up perfectly. And then Anthony Richardson steps up in the pocket and throws a beautiful ball to Josh Downs. I'm talking about him throwing passes too high. Josh Downs is only 5'9", right? He threw the ball toward Josh Downs. It was like at Josh Downs' head. Like, it was a great ball. And it hit Josh Downs right in his hands, and he just couldn't hang on to it. And that's one of those things, with a quarterback who throws that hard, the receivers have to be able to adjust to that. And like, there aren't a whole lot of guys that are throwing the ball as hard as Anthony Richardson can throw the ball. So it's an adjustment period. Anthony Richardson trying to figure his own self out and figure out how to throw the ball better. Then you have the receivers trying to figure out how to handle what Anthony Richardson is coming with, because he's throwing gas on these footballs. But overall, I thought Anthony Richardson did pretty well. I thought he was placing the ball well. I thought he was making good decisions with the ball for the most part. There was one or two coming off the top of my head that I can think of that were like, I'd rather you not do that. But with a guy like Anthony Richardson and the arm that he has, there's some things he can do that other people can't. So you let him get away with some things that other people can't. Okay, but then outside of just being a passer, his running ability, his escapability, right? We know his athletic ability is crazy, but the way he's able to get away from people in the pocket, like, he literally had somebody all over him on a blitz, came untouched on a blitz, had him wrapped up, and he just spun out of it, got away, and ran away from everybody. And what was about to be an 8-yard sack ended up being a 6-yard gain because Anthony Richardson was able to make something out of nothing. So that escapability and that athleticism, like in years past, even with Carson Wentz, even with maybe even Andrew Luck, that's a sack. But Anthony Richardson is just different, man. He's able to get away from that. I don't know how many quarterbacks currently in the league are getting away from that. Maybe Josh Allen, because the way he's built and the way he plays, but like Jalen Hurts, because he's really strong. Outside of that, I mean, I think those are the only three that are really making the play that Anthony did there. And having that special quality is going to help this team. Like, no matter how good or bad this team is in terms of win and loss, they're going to be able to keep drives going because Anthony Richardson has those special abilities, right? And one of the special abilities is stepping up in the pocket. And I thought that was something he looked really good with today. He looked much more calm in the pocket than he did in preseason game one, right? And if you remember back to preseason game one, it was from drive one to drive three, we saw him start to calm down and we saw him start to get better. And in this one, he looked like he belonged there. Like from the rip, he looked like he belonged there, looked like he was supposed to be in that position. His poise in the pocket is amazing for a 21-year-old. Not only is he a rookie, he's only 21 years old starting in the NFL. So, it's the Eagles, right? This is the team that was just in the Super Bowl. A lot of people thinking they have what it takes to get back to the Super Bowl, and they weren't playing their first team. That's an important note here also. The Eagles were not playing their starters in this game. So not only do you take things with a grain of salt in the preseason, but with them not playing starters, you take it with a grain of salt also. But then you go to the fact that the Eagles have one of the deepest rosters in the league, and they have guys on their second team that were starters in other places last year, right? So little give and take there. Maybe I'm just trying to give myself excuses here, but overall, the way the offense looked, there wasn't much. There was a game plan. I think things will look better as a whole going into the season, but the game plan in this game was very clearly to push the ball down the field. And those are things that we clearly are going to need more reps on. But it's something that, Shane Steichen did with the Eagles. They pushed the ball down the field a lot and they used the run game to be able to set that stuff up. So as we get into the regular season, I expect the offense, when it stops being so bland, I think the run game will get better. I think that'll help the pass game get better. And with Anthony Richardson's arm and the kind of guys we have on the team, those deep shots are going to come. Okay. It's not going to be all the time. It's not going to be consistent in Anthony Richardson's rookie year. We can't expect consistency, which is the hard part. When when you see his ability, you want it to be great all the time. But I think the realistic thing is just to understand that it's not going to be consistent from drive to drive, or from play to play, certainly not from game to game. So it won't be perfect, but this offense is going to put points up. Anthony Richardson, the way he can keep drives alive, Kylan Granson and Josh Downs are going to keep drives alive. Michael Pittman Jr. is going to keep drives alive. Like, there are going to be ways. This Shane Steichen offense, like, that's what it's designed to do, is to move the ball downfield and take the shots when they're there. So this offense is going to move the ball, which is going to put points up. The objective is going to be, can we put the ball in the end zone rather than take field goals? And that's what we're going to be looking for when the regular season starts. Just how efficient is the offense? And that's, of course, a huge question mark. With the Chiefs, they're going to be one of the most efficient offenses. There's so many question marks, so much potential on this team, but potential means nothing at the end of the day. At the end of the day, you have to put it together and you have to do it consistently to be great. So as we get into the regular season, I expect the offense to definitely look better than it did here in the preseason. Again, it's just so bland in the preseason, but I do think the starters for the offense will be good to go in the regular season. Just some stuff to clean up over the first month. Okay, and then quick note on the defense. I just think the defense needs to be better. I hope it gets better going into the regular season. I hope it's more aggressive. I hope it's more of an attack, because what we're seeing is very soft zones, and soft zone cover three, I'm not a fan of. Like, if you're going to be playing cover three, then you're going to need to play up. Like, you have to play up. You can't give the offense such easy outs and such easy first downs. Like, they're catching the ball with ease at 4 or 5 yards and then able to just take 1 or 2 steps real quick and fall forward for the other 3 and get a first down on 3rd and 7. Like, you just can't have that going into regular season. So I want to see that happen. But Gus Bradley's defense was so good last year that I expect it to be better than what we're seeing right now. It's concerning. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm concerned right now, but I do think our pass rush is going to be much better this year. And I honestly think there's a chance Dio Dingbo might be better than Kwity Paye. And then we might see that pretty early on this year. I think he's going to be really good this season. But the pass rush should be good. I think we're going to be really good up front. Linebackers are really good. It's really the secondary we're going to have to watch. But again, I expect the defense as a whole to look a lot better going into the regular season than we have here the preseason thus far. Okay, so that's going to do it for the first half recap. I'll be back after the second half All right, now that the second half is over, the Colts have won the game 27-13, beating the Eagles in the last preseason game. We finish out 2-1 in the preseason. And the only real takeaways that I have from the second half of that game was guys that kind of solidified their spot on the roster. And I thought guys that were able to do that, one was Will Mallory. He made a couple plays, especially in the fourth quarter. Sam Ellinger kept going to him, and he made plays. And it feels like he's going to be the fourth tight end on the roster, right? And then you have Sam Ellinger, who I also thought over this preseason, and he's kind of a preseason god, but even still, with the third quarterback rule now, and the fact that you can have an emergency quarterback that doesn't count against your 46 active players on game day, I think keeping Sam on the roster is just, it makes sense, right? You hope you never have to be in a position where you need your emergency quarterback. But if you need a third quarterback, you might as well have a guy that can run the offense like Anthony Richardson could, and a guy that all the players, or at least most of the players, the players that have already been here, already know. So makes sense. Sam probably going to keep his job, especially, being able to beat the Bears, being able to beat the Eagles, and not looking terrible doing it. He was making plays. And then the other guy that I have in mind is Grant Steward. We keep talking about him on the channel, and for good reason. He's usually just a special teamer. And I think what he's doing at linebacker is special to watch and see the transition that a player can make and the evolution of a football player. As long as you're just working to continuously get better, then there's always going to be an opportunity at some point in the NFL. And he's been able to showcase through the preseason that if he has to be on the field, he's going to make plays, right? You see that long flowing hair everywhere when he's on the field. He's always around the ball. And I think that's the kind of stuff that rubs off when you have guys like Shaq Leonard and a guy like Zaire Franklin on the team, right? Bobby Okereke's been there for years and he's been great. So having these guys to learn from and having these guys to influence you and teach you through the years, Grant Steward is actually putting that on the field, right? Which is good to see, taking it from practice to game. Not everybody does that. After this preseason, I'm pretty concerned that that's what's happening with Alec Pierce, is that he's just one of those guys that's really good in practice and can't turn it on in the games. So, we'll see going into the regular season with that situation. But overall, I thought it was a good game. Obviously, it's preseason. There's some stuff to clean up, some stuff to work on. You're not running the full offense and the full defense, so it's not great. But overall, we put up 27 points in a preseason game, had almost 400 yards of total offense. So, all in all, I'm okay with what I saw. Of course, we want to continue to see improvement. The first month of the season is going to be really important in terms of how this team is going to do throughout the year. But I do think that as we get into the regular season and we start creeping into October, I think we're going to see this team make major strides on both sides of the ball. And a lot of that is going to be because of the coaching staff that is in place with Shane Steichen, Gus Bradley, and all those guys, and the rookie quarterback that just continues to look better every time he stepped on the field. Of course, we've only seen it twice, but to see what he looked like in the Bills game compared to what he looked like on the field in the game against the Eagles, like night and day difference of how jittery he was from one game to the next. Looked completely comfortable in the second game. So I think that's going to keep coming along pretty quickly as he continues to get the reps. I think this Eagles game was huge. So many young guys on this roster, first and second players. They got a lot of experience here against the Eagles. So I'm really excited going into a regular season. I'd love to know your thoughts of this Colts team after the preseason games. We now have, I believe it's going to be 16 days from today is when the first regular season game is for the Colts. So we have a little bit of time. Roster cut down day is on Tuesday. So there's going to be a lot of things happening. I have a lot of ideas. I'm going to try to get as much out to you guys as I possibly can over the next few days, because I imagine this Colts team with, again, a new coaching staff, so many new guys, I bet there's going to be a lot of stuff happening. Again, going to try to keep you guys updated as much as I possibly can. And with that said, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.